Have you ever faced a moment so bleak, so utterly devoid of hope, that the very thought of continuing felt like a cruel joke? A moment where every fiber of your being screamed to surrender, to simply let go and succumb to the inevitable. It is in those profound depths of despair that the true spirit of life, the tenacious, unyielding will to persevere, is truly tested. And it is in overcoming such moments that we discover the extraordinary power residing within us. A power often dormant until adversity awakens it. Today, I want to share with you a tale not just of survival, but of the indomitable spirit that refuses to be extinguished, even when all seems lost. It's a story born from a simple, everyday setting, yet it holds a lesson as profound as any ancient parable. Imagine, if you will, a sun-drenched meadow, buzzing with the symphony of summer. In this vibrant tapestry of green and gold lived two inseparable friends, two frogs whose lives were about to take an unexpected, perilous turn. There was Buster, a large, robust frog, known for his booming croak and his easygoing nature. He was strong, confident, and had a knack for finding the juiciest flies. His companion was Pip, a considerably smaller frog, but what she lacked in size, she more than made up for in spirit. Pip was quick-witted, agile, and possessed a quiet determination that often went unnoticed beneath Buster's more flamboyant personality. They were an unlikely pair, a testament to the beautiful variety of friendship, and together they explored every nook and cranny of their watery world. One sweltering afternoon, as the sun beat down relentlessly, Buster and Pip ventured further than usual, drawn by the promise of a new, unexplored patch of lily pads. Their adventure, however, took an unforeseen detour. Distracted by a particularly iridescent dragonfly, they hopped too close to an old, weathered farm shed. With a sudden, terrifying slip, they tumbled headfirst into a deep, narrow bucket that had been carelessly left near the entrance. The landing was jarring, a splash that echoed ominously in the confines of the bucket. Disoriented and confused, they quickly realized the gravity of their predicament. The bucket wasn't empty. It was filled to the brim with creamy white milk, and there was no solid ground to stand on, no sturdy rim to cling to. The walls were slick and impossibly high, offering no purchase for their desperate claws. They were trapped, suspended in an unfamiliar viscous liquid that promised no escape. Panic set in, a cold wave washing over Buster and Pip. They thrashed wildly, their powerful hind legs pushing against the milky expanse, hoping to propel themselves upwards out of this milky prison. Buster, with his greater strength, propelled himself higher, leaping with all his might, but each attempt ended in a disheartening splash back into the opaque liquid. Pip, smaller but no less determined, tried to climb the slippery walls, her tiny suction cups failing to grip the smooth metal. The milk, thick and unrelenting, offered no purchase, only a vast, endless ocean that threatened to swallow them whole. As minutes stretched into what felt like an eternity, Buster's initial bursts of energy began to wane. His powerful legs, accustomed to short, explosive jumps, grew heavy and tired from the constant, desperate treading. "It's no use, Pip," he croaked, his voice thick with despair, each word a struggle. "We're trapped. There's no way out. The walls are too high, too slick. We're just going to wear ourselves out for nothing." Pip, though equally exhausted and terrified, refused to give in. "No, Buster, don't say that. We have to keep trying. We have to keep swimming. Something will happen. It has to," she urged, her small voice trembling but resolute. She continued to paddle, her tiny legs moving in a frantic, rhythmic dance, trying to keep her head above the surface. But Buster's spirit was already broken. The vastness of the milk, the futility of his efforts, had crushed his hope. He looked at Pip, his eyes dimming with resignation. "It's too much, little friend. I can't. My legs are like lead. There's no point in fighting the inevitable." With a heavy sigh, a sigh that seemed to carry the weight of all his lost hope, Buster stopped swimming. His powerful body, once so full of life and energy, slowly, tragically, began to sink.
Oh.
Pip watched in horror, screaming his name, but it was too late. With a final silent gurgle, her best friend, the strong, jovial Buster, disappeared beneath the milky surface. A profound, bone-chilling sorrow enveloped Pip. The silence that followed Buster's demise was deafening. Amplifying her own desperate gasps for air, Her heart, already pounding from exertion, now ached with an unbearable grief. Her best friend was gone, swallowed by this indifferent white abyss. A powerful urge to give up, to join Buster in the quiet oblivion beneath, surged through her. Why fight? Why struggle? What was the point of surviving if she was truly alone? But then, a flicker. A tiny, defiant spark ignited within Pip's weary soul. She looked at the milky surface, at the spot where Buster had vanished. She remembered his booming laughter, his unwavering loyalty. An idea, or perhaps a desperate resolve, took root. She wouldn't give up, not now. She would honor Buster's memory by fighting to her last breath, by refusing to surrender to the same fate that had claimed him. With renewed, albeit sorrowful, determination, Pip continued to swim. Her small legs, though screaming in protest, churned the milk with a rhythmic, almost hypnotic motion. Stroke after stroke, kick after kick, she pushed against the viscous liquid. It was an automatic action, a primal instinct to survive, but also a conscious decision to defy despair. She wasn't just treading water anymore. She was working the milk, her tiny limbs acting like miniature paddles, stirring and agitating the creamy substance. Minutes turned into what felt like hours. Her muscles burned, her lungs ached, and tears, hot and silent, streamed down her face, mixing with the cold milk. But she didn't stop. She couldn't. She was a tiny, churning engine of grief and grit. And then, subtly at first, something began to change. The milk around her started to feel different. Less liquid, more resistant, a faint, almost imperceptible thickening. Pip, too exhausted to fully comprehend, simply continued her relentless churning. The resistance grew stronger. Her legs, though weary, found something more substantial to push against. The milk was no longer a fluid trap. It was transforming. Gradually, magically, the churning motion of her tiny legs was causing the fat molecules in the milk to clump together. What had once been a liquid prison was slowly, miraculously, solidifying. Finally, with a gasp of astonishment and a surge of adrenaline, Pip realized what was happening. Beneath her, a small, yellowish lump had formed. It was soft, lumpy, and unmistakably solid. Her continuous, desperate efforts had turned the milk into butter. With a renewed burst of strength she didn't know she possessed, she scrambled onto the makeshift island of butter, pulling her exhausted body out of the remaining liquid. She rested there for a moment, catching her breath, her heart pounding with a mixture of disbelief and triumph. The butter, though small, was firm enough to support her. With one final, mighty leap, she propelled herself upwards, out of the bucket, landing with a soft thud on the dry ground outside. She was free. She had survived. But the taste of victory was bittersweet, tainted by the immense loss of her dear friend. She had escaped the bucket, but she had left Buster behind. The years that followed saw Pip thrive. She started her own family, sharing her wisdom and resilience with her children. And when her first son was born, she named him Buster, a constant, loving reminder of the friend she had lost and the lesson she had learned. Often, on warm evenings, she would gather her children around her, her voice soft but firm, and recount the tale of the milk bucket. "Never, ever give up, my little ones," she would croak, her eyes shimmering with memory. Even when despair feels like a cold, heavy blanket, even when your strength wanes and your heart aches, keep trying, keep pushing, keep churning. Because you never know when your perseverance, your sheer refusal to surrender, might just turn your prison into your escape. There is always hope, always a way forward, if you just keep trying. Buster taught me that in his own way, and it's a lesson I carry in my heart every single day.